Captain Jake Morrison stepped off the transport ship and felt his boots sink into what used to be grass. Now, it was just black ash mixed with melted glass. The air smelled like burnt metal and something else he did not want to think about. Geneva Colony had been home to 47,000 people just 3 days ago. Now it was a graveyard. The Velcan Empire had come without warning. Their ships had appeared in the sky like dark clouds, and then the killing began. Jake had seen the recordings from the colony's defense systems. The Velcans had not just attacked military targets. They had burned the schools first. Then the hospitals and the homes where families slept. Lieutenant Amy Brooks walked up to him, carrying a tablet computer. Her face was pale, and her hands shook slightly. She had been reading the casualty reports all morning. "Sir, we have the final count," she said in a quiet voice. 47,200 civilians dead. The orbital bombardment lasted 6 hours. They made sure nothing survived. Jake looked around at the ruins, here and there, twisted. Metal stuck up from the ground like broken bones. These had been buildings once, homes where children played and families ate dinner together. Now they were just shadows burned into the earth. "Any survivors?" he asked, though he already knew. The answer? None from the residential areas, Amy replied. The Velcans were very thorough. They used plasma bombs on the shelters. Even the underground bunkers were destroyed. Jake walked toward what used to be the town center. His boots crunched on melted glass with each step. The Velcans had used their heat weapons to turn the sand into glass, then shattered it with explosives. It was cruel and unnecessary. They could have simply bombed the colony from space and left. Instead, they had taken their time. A small piece of metal caught his eye. He bent down and picked it up. It was a toy spaceship, the kind human children played with. The paint was mostly burned off, but he could still see part of the Earth Defense Force logo on the side. Some child had pretended to be a hero, flying around saving people. Now that child was dead, along with everyone else. Captain Amy said, "We found something else." The colony's chief scientist, Dr. Helen Carter, managed to get a message out. Before the bombardment began, she recorded everything. Jake looked up from the toy. "Show me." Amy activated her tablet, and a holographic display appeared in the air. Dr. Carter's face looked back at them. She was in her 60s, with gray hair and kind eyes. Jake had met her once before, when the colony was being established. She had been excited about the research opportunities on this world. "This is Dr. Helen Carter, New Geneva Colony Final. Transmission?" The recording began. "The Velcan fleet arrived at 0600 hours local time. They did not respond to our surrender signals. They did not ask for our evacuation. They simply began firing on civilian targets." The image shook as explosions rocked the building where Dr. Carter was recording. She looked directly at the camera with fierce determination. "I want Earth to know what happened here. I want them to see what the Velcans did to our children. 30 years we have been told that humans are weak, that we need protection from stronger species, that we should be grateful for the scraps the galaxy gives us. Well, I am not grateful, not anymore." Another explosion, closer this time. Dr. Carter's voice became urgent. "The Galactic Council will call this an unfortunate incident." They will. "Say the Velcans were justified because we were in their territory. They will offer their pity and their empty words. But they will not act. They never act when humans die." The recording flickered as power systems failed throughout the colony. Dr. Carter's last words were barely audible over the sound of destruction. "Tell Earth that we died as free humans, not as anyone's subjects. Tell them that 47,000 people died here not because we were weak, but because we were alone. Tell them that the galaxy's pity is not enough anymore." The recording ended. Shh. Jake stared at the empty air where Dr. Carter's face had been. Around them, the ruins of New Geneva stretched to the horizon. Somewhere in this wasteland were the remains of 47,000 human beings who had died for the crime of existing in the wrong place. Amy closed the tablet. "Sir, what are our orders?" Jake picked up the toy spaceship again and turned it over in his hands. For decades, humanity had accepted its place as the galaxy's charity case. When alien pirates raided human ships, the Galactic Council offered sympathy. When stronger species took human worlds, Earth was told to be understanding. When human colonies were attacked, the response was always the same: thoughts and prayers. But no action. The humans had tried to fit in, had followed the rules, respected alien customs, and accepted second-class citizenship among the stars. In return, they had been patted on the head like children and told to be grateful for what they had. "Amy, get me a direct line to Earth Defense Command," Jake said. "Priority 1 encryption." "Sir, the Galactic Council protocols require us to report through official channels first." Jake looked at her with cold eyes. "The Galactic Council can file their protocols with the 47,000 dead civilians here. Get me Admiral Kane. Now." Amy nodded and began working on her communication equipment. Jake walked through the ruins while she established the connection. Here had been a playground. There had been a school. Over there, a hospital where human doctors had saved lives and delivered babies. All of it was gone now, reduced to ash and melted metal. The communication system crackled to life. Admiral Lisa Kane's voice came through clearly from Earth, 20 light years away. "Captain Morrison, I have the preliminary reports." "How bad is it?" "Worse than the reports say, Admiral. They did not just attack us, they erased us." This was not a military action. This was genocide. A long pause. Jake could hear Admiral Kane breathing on the other end of the connection. "Captain, I need you to document everything. Every crater, every burned building, every piece of evidence. The galaxy needs to see what happened there." "With respect, Admiral, the galaxy already knows what happened here. They just do not care." Dr. Carter was right. "The Galactic Council will call this an unfortunate incident and move on. They always do." Another pause. When Admiral Kane spoke again, her voice was different. Harder. "Captain, between you and me, there are some people on Earth who are tired of being the galaxy's victim. There are some projects that have been waiting for the right moment to see daylight. Maybe that moment has come." Jake understood. There had always been rumors about secret research programs, about weapons and technologies that Earth kept hidden to avoid frightening their alien neighbors. Humanity had deliberately appeared weak to gain sympathy and protection. But what if that protection was worthless? "Admiral, what are your orders?" "Document everything, Captain. Then come home. It is time for Earth to have a conversation with the galaxy. I think the galaxy's not going to like what we have to say." Jake looked around at the ruins one last time. Somewhere in this wasteland, 47,000 humans had died believing that Earth would protect them. They had been wrong. Earth had not protected them. But maybe, just maybe, Earth could make sure this never happened again. The toy spaceship felt heavy in his hand. He put it in his pocket and walked back toward the transport ship. The galaxy had made a mistake. They had mistaken human kindness for weakness. They had confused human patience with inability. Soon they would learn the difference. Admiral Lisa Kane stood in the war room deep beneath Earth Defense Command. The room was quiet except for the soft hum of computers and the distant sound of her own breathing. On the screens around her, she could see the latest reports from New Geneva colony. Each image made her angrier than the last. For 3 days, she had watched the recordings that Captain Morrison had sent back. 3 days of seeing what the Velcans had done to innocent people. 3 days of reading reports about how the Galactic Council was calling it a regrettable incident. 3 days of listening to alien diplomats explain why humans should accept this and move on. She was done accepting. She was done moving on. Colonel Ryan Davis entered the room, carrying a thick folder marked with warning signs. He had been her second in command for 8 years, and she had never seen him look so nervous. "Admiral, I brought the files you requested," he said quietly. "But I have to ask again if you are sure about this. Once we open these files, there is no going back." Lisa turned to face him. "Colonel, 47,000 civilians are dead. The Velcans killed them slowly and deliberately. The Galactic Council is going to give us a formal apology and tell us to be grateful it was not worse. Tell me again why we should not open these files." Ryan set the folder on the table, but did not open it. Because we signed treaties, Admiral we agreed to limit our military development. We promised the galaxy that humans would not become a threat. We kept our promises, Lisa said. We followed their rules. We accepted their protection. And where did that get us? New Geneva is a graveyard because we trusted aliens to care about human lives. She opened the folder herself. Inside were blueprints, research reports, and classified documents that had been locked away for 20 years. The Phoenix Protocol, Project Genesis, the Prometheus Initiative. Names that only a handful of people on Earth knew about. Show me. The Phoenix files first, Lisa said. Ryan activated the holographic display system. The air above the table filled with technical diagrams and weapons specifications. Lisa had seen some of these before, but not all of them, not the ones that had been deemed too dangerous to build. The Phoenix Mark VII plasma cannon, Ryan read from the display, capable of punching through any known shield technology. Rate of fire, 12 shots per minute. Effective range, 50,000 kilometers. Status, prototypes completed. Production, suspended by treaty obligations. Lisa nodded. What about the ships? The Scorpion-class destroyer. Adaptive armor plating that learns from incoming attacks. Stealth systems that make it invisible to all known sensor types. Speed, capable of reaching any point in the solar system within 6 hours. Status, 3 prototypes built. Program terminated due to Galactic Council concerns. The images changed, showing sleek black ships that looked nothing like the blocky, slow vessels that Earth currently used. These were built for war, not for making aliens comfortable with human technology. And the Genesis project? Lisa asked. Ryan hesitated. Admiral Genesis is different. It is not just about weapons. It is about changing how we think about warfare entirely. Show me. The display shifted again. This time, it showed complex diagrams of computer systems and artificial intelligence networks. Lisa had heard rumors about Genesis, but she had never seen the actual specifications. Genesis is a tactical AI system, Ryan explained. It can analyze enemy movements, predict their strategies, and adapt our responses in real time. It learns from every engagement and shares that knowledge with every human ship in the fleet. The more we fight, the smarter it gets. Lisa studied the diagrams. How smart? Smart enough to predict what an enemy will do before they do it. Smart enough to turn their own weapons against them. Smart enough to make a single human ship equal to an entire alien fleet. The room fell silent. Lisa could hear her own heartbeat. In her ears, these were the tools that Earth had built in secret, then hidden away to avoid frightening their neighbors. These were the weapons that could have saved New Geneva. Why did we stop building these? She asked. Because the Galactic Council was afraid of us, Ryan said. They saw the early test results and demanded that we sign the non-aggression protocols. They said that humans with this technology would be too dangerous for galactic peace. They offered U.S. protection in exchange for limiting our military development. And we agreed. We agreed. We wanted to be part of the galactic community. We wanted to be accepted, so we put our best weapons in storage and built patrol boats instead of warships. Lisa closed the folder and looked around the room. On the walls were portraits of previous Earth defense commanders, men and women who had fought to protect humanity with limited resources and outdated technology. They had done their best with what they had. But what if they had been allowed to do more? Colonel, I want you to contact Dr. Kevin Wright. Tell him to come here immediately. Admiral, if we reactivate these programs, the Galactic Council will consider it an act of aggression. They might impose sanctions. They might even authorize military action against Earth. Lisa laughed, but there was no humor in it. They might impose sanctions. Ryan, they just watched 47,000 humans die and called it an unfortunate incident. They've already shown us exactly how much they value human lives. What more could they do to us? Ryan nodded slowly. I will contact Dr. Wright. An hour later, Dr. Kevin Wright arrived with a team of scientists and engineers. Lisa had worked with Kevin before, during the early days of the Phoenix Protocol. He was a thin man with gray hair and intelligent eyes that missed nothing. "Admiral," he said as he entered the room, "I assume this is about New Geneva." "It is about more than New Geneva," Lisa replied. "It is about every human colony that has been attacked while we followed the rules. It is about every human ship that has been raided while we trusted in alien protection. It is about 47,000 dead civilians in a galaxy that does not care." Kevin set down a metal briefcase and opened it. Inside were data storage devices and computer components that Lisa did not recognize. "I brought the complete Genesis archives," he said. "Everything we learned before the project was suspended. If you were thinking what I think you were thinking, we can have the system operational within weeks." "What would it take to reactivate the Phoenix Protocol?" Lisa asked. "The weapon systems are easier," Kevin replied. "We have the designs, we have the materials, and we have the factories. The hard part was always the political will to build them. If that has changed, we can begin production immediately." Lisa walked to the window that looked out over the Earth Defense Command Complex. Below, she could see thousands of people going about their daily work. Technicians, soldiers, administrators, all of them believing that Earth was safe because they followed the rules. "Doctor, in your professional opinion, could these systems have saved New Geneva?" Kevin was quiet for a long moment. "Admiral, if New Geneva had been defended by Phoenix Protocol weapons and Genesis tactical systems, the Velcan fleet would never have reached the planet. Genesis would have detected them days before they arrived. Our ships would have been waiting. For them, and the civilians, all 47,000 would still be alive." Lisa turned back to face the room. "Gentlemen, we have spent 30 years trying to earn the galaxy's respect through cooperation and restraint. We have followed their rules, accepted their limitations, and trusted in their protection. The result is 47,000 dead humans and a Galactic Council that calls it regrettable." She walked to the holographic display and activated it. Again, the images of Phoenix weapons and Genesis systems filled the air around them. "I am authorizing the immediate reactivation of all suspended military development programs. I want the Phoenix fleet operational within 90 days. I want Genesis systems installed on every human ship and colony. I want the galaxy to understand that the age of human weakness is over." Kevin smiled for the first time since entering the room. "Admiral, there is one more thing you should know. We did not stop our research when the protocols were signed. We just made it more discreet. We've been developing new systems for 20 years, systems that the galaxy has never seen and never suspected. Show me." The display changed again, showing technologies that seemed impossible even to Lisa's experienced eyes. Weapons that could adapt to any defense. Ships that could think and fight independently. Communication systems that could coordinate human forces across the entire galaxy instantaneously. "My God," Ryan whispered. "What have we built?" "We have built the tools to ensure that New Geneva never happens again," Lisa said. "We have built the means to make the galaxy treat humans as equals instead of victims. We have built the weapons to earn respect instead of pity." She looked around the room at the faces of her officers and scientists. These were the people who would transform humanity from a protected species into a galactic power. "Gentlemen, the galaxy is about to learn something important about humans. We are not weak. We are not helpless. We are not grateful victims. Our survivors, and we have been preparing for this moment for decades." The holographic display cast strange shadows on the walls as Lisa gave her final orders. "Begin production immediately. And send a message to Captain Morrison. Tell him to come home. Earth has work to do." The Galactic Council chamber was never quiet. On any normal day, representatives from 300 different species would be talking, arguing, or making deals in languages that computer translators struggled to understand. Today was different. Today the massive hall was completely silent. Ambassador Carol Stevens walked slowly toward the central speaking platform. Her footsteps echoed in the vast space as thousands of alien eyes watched her every movement. Behind her, the largest display screen in the galaxy showed images that made even the most hardened diplomats uncomfortable. The burned ruins of New Geneva colony filled the screen. Melted buildings, scorched earth, and twisted metal stretched as far as the eye could see. The images changed every few seconds, showing different angles of the same destruction. A playground where children had played. A hospital where doctors had saved lives. A school where teachers had prepared the next generation of human colonists. All of it was gone. All of it had been destroyed by the Velcan Empire 3 weeks ago. Carol reached the platform and activated the microphone system. Her voice carried clearly through the chamber's acoustic systems, translated instantly into hundreds of languages. "Honored representatives," she began, "I stand before you today, not as a petitioner, but as a messenger. The Terran Federation has sent me to deliver a simple communication to this body and to the galaxy beyond." In the Velcan section of the chamber, Warlord Kethvas shifted uncomfortably in his seat. He had commanded the fleet that destroyed New Geneva, and he had expected this moment. He had expected the humans to come begging for justice, pleading for protection, asking for the galaxy's pity as they always did. Carol's next words surprised him. "We are not here to ask for your help. We are not here to request an investigation. We are not here to beg for justice. We are here to inform you that the age of human weakness is over." A murmur ran through the chamber. Representatives leaned forward in their seats, uncertain they had heard correctly. The translator systems checked and rechecked the words, but the meaning was clear. For 30 years, humanity has accepted its place as the galaxy's protected species. We have followed your rules, respected your customs, and trusted in your protection. We have been grateful for your sympathy when we were attacked. We've been thankful for your thoughts and prayers when our people died. Carol paused and looked directly at the Velcan delegation. Kethvas felt something cold run down his spine. The human ambassador's eyes were not filled with fear or sadness. They were filled with something he had never seen from a human before: confidence. 3 weeks ago, the Velcan Empire murdered 47,000 innocent civilians on New Geneva colony. They took 6 hours to complete their work, ensuring that no one survived. They used weapons designed to cause maximum suffering. They targeted schools, hospitals, and homes filled with families. The display screen behind Carol changed. Now it showed the faces of the dead. Thousands of human faces, men and women and children, all smiling in photographs taken before the attack. The images cycled through slowly, giving the chamber time to see each face, each life that had been lost. "The Galactic Council's response was predictable," Carol continued. "You called it an unfortunate incident. You offered your regrets. You suggested that humans should understand that these things happen in space. You recommended that we accept this tragedy and move forward." Counselor Vexton of the Hegemony activated his speaking system. "Ambassador Stevens, the Galactic Council, has always supported human colonies. We have provided protection. You have provided nothing," Carol interrupted, her voice cutting through the alien's words like a blade. "Your protection failed. Your rules failed. Your system failed. 47,000 humans died while you watched and called it regrettable." She activated a control device in her hand, and the display screen changed again. This time, it showed something that made the entire chamber gasp. 3 Velcan military installations, each one reduced to twisted metal and cooling plasma. The destruction was complete and precise, leaving no doubt about what had happened. "These are the Velcan fleet bases that coordinated the attack on New Geneva," Carol said calmly. "They were destroyed 12 hours ago by the Phoenix fleet of the Terran Federation. No civilians were harmed in these operations. Only military targets were engaged. The Velcan forces responsible for the New Geneva massacre are no longer a threat to anyone." The chamber erupted in chaos. Representatives jumped to their feet, shouting questions and demands. The Velcan delegation was in complete shock. Those bases had been defended by the most advanced shield systems in the galaxy. They had been considered impregnable. Carol waited for the noise to die down before continuing. "The Terran Federation wishes to make several points clear to this body and to the galaxy." She held up one finger. "First, we are no longer interested in your protection. Every human colony now has defensive systems that make the New Geneva massacre impossible to repeat. Every human ship now carries weapons that your finest engineers dismissed as theoretical." A second finger. "Second, we are no longer bound by the military limitations imposed by previous treaties. Those agreements were made. in exchange for protection that you failed to provide? Since you cannot protect us, we will protect ourselves. A third finger. Third, we are no longer asking for your permission to exist as equals in this galaxy. We tried to earn your respect through cooperation and restraint. Since that approach failed, we will earn your respect through strength. The silence in the chamber was deafening. For the first time in galactic history, humans were not pleading their case or asking for understanding. They were making demands. Counselor Zekdar of the Trade Federation activated his speaking system. Ambassador, you cannot simply ignore galactic law. There are procedures for resolving disputes. There are protocols. There are protocols for protecting civilian populations, Carol said, her voice growing colder. The Velcans ignored them. You ignored them. Now we will establish new protocols. She turned to address the entire chamber, her voice carrying to every corner of the vast space. The Terran Federation hereby serves notice that any attack on human civilians will be met with immediate and overwhelming retaliation. Any species that threatens human colonies will discover that we are no longer the weak, helpless victims you have grown accustomed to. The display screen behind her changed one final time. Now it showed images of human ships unlike anything the galaxy had seen before, sleek, deadly vessels that moved with impossible grace. Weapons that seemed to bend the laws of physics. Technology that was clearly decades ahead of anything the galactic community possessed. These are the ships of the Phoenix Fleet, Carol explained. They represent 20 years of human research and development that we kept hidden to avoid frightening our neighbors. We are no longer concerned with your comfort. We are concerned with our survival. Warlord Kethvas finally found his voice. You cannot threaten the entire galaxy. You are one species among hundreds. You cannot stand against all of us. Carol smiled, and there was no warmth in it. Warlord, you commanded the fleet that murdered 47,000 civilians. You believed that humans were weak and helpless. Your 3 most powerful military bases are now scrap metal. I would suggest that your assumptions about human capabilities require revision. She looked around the chamber one final time. The Terran Federation is not seeking to conquer anyone. We are not interested in ruling over other species. We simply refuse to be anyone's victims. We demand to be treated as equals, not as charity cases. The ambassador's final words echoed in the chamber long after she had finished speaking. We are not your children. We are not your problem to solve. We are not your victims to pity. We are your equals, and we will be respected as such. Carol. Stevens walked away from the platform, leaving behind a chamber full of alien representatives who were finally beginning to understand that humanity had changed forever. The age of human weakness was over. The age of human equality had begun. Behind her, the display screen showed one final image. The rebuilt spaceport of New Geneva Colony, where human families were already returning to reclaim their world. The message was clear. Humans would not be driven from their homes. They would not accept pity instead of justice. They would not bow to anyone ever again. The galaxy had received humanity's message. Whether they understood it remained to be seen. But one thing was certain. The rules of galactic civilization had just changed forever. The humans had written the new ones in fire and steel. The Terran Federation had spoken. So the galaxy would listen, or it would learn the hard way that underestimating humanity was a mistake that could only be made once. Captain Tony Martinez sat in the command chair of the EU's Defiance and watched the Velcan fleet approach on his main screen. 12 ships in total, led by the massive battlecruiser Crimson Fang. It was the same ship that had led the attack on New Geneva Colony. The same ship that had murdered 47,000 innocent people. Today, that ship would pay for its crimes. Sir, incoming transmission from the Velcan commander, reported Lieutenant Beth Anderson from the communications station. They are demanding our immediate surrender. Tony looked at the tactical display. The Velcan fleet outnumbered him 12-1. Their ships were larger, older, and had been the terror of this sector for decades. By every military calculation that the galaxy understood, the Defiance should surrender immediately. The galaxy did not understand human military calculations anymore. Put them through, Tony said calmly. The main screen flickered and showed the bridge of the Crimson Fang. Warlord Kethvas appeared. His reptilian features twisted with contempt. Behind him, Tony could see Velcan officers preparing weapons systems. Vessel Kethwa spoke in his harsh, guttural language. You are outnumbered and outgunned. Surrender now, and we will make your deaths quick. Continue this foolishness, and we will take you apart piece by piece. Tony smiled. It was not a pleasant expression. Warlord Kethvas. I have been looking forward to meeting you. You are the one who destroyed New Geneva colony. I am, Kethvas replied proudly, and I will destroy your pathetic ship just as easily. Humans are weak creatures who hide behind the protection of stronger species. Without your Galactic Council masters to protect, you are nothing. Interesting theory, Tony said. Would you like to test it? Before Kethvas could respond, Tony cut the transmission and turned to his crew. The bridge of the Defiance was unlike any ship the galaxy had seen before. Instead of separate stations, the crew worked at integrated workstations that connected directly to the ship's central AI system. Genesis, tactical analysis, Tony commanded. A smooth, artificial voice responded immediately. Velcan fleet deployment follows standard attack pattern 7. Probability of success using conventional tactics, 0.03%. Probability of success using adaptive countermeasures, 97.4%. Dr. Susan Blake, the ship's tactical coordinator, looked up from her station. Sir Genesis has identified weaknesses in their shield harmonics. It appears the Velcans have not updated their defensive systems in over 50 years. Not surprising, Tony replied. When you spend decades bullying weaker species, you stop worrying about innovation. Beth, open a channel to the fleet. Channel open, sir. Tony's voice carried across space to all 12 Velcan ships. Attention, Velcan fleet. This is Captain Tony Martinez of the Terran Federation ship Defiance. You are hereby ordered to surrender immediately and submit to judgment for war crimes committed against civilian populations. Laughter echoed back from the Velcan ships. Kethvas' voice was filled with mockery. One human ship against 12 Velcan warships? You've gone insane? With grief, human, we will put you out of your misery. The Velcan fleet began to move into attack formation. Tony watched them on his tactical display with the patience of a hunter who had set the perfect trap. Susan, are they doing what Genesis predicted? Exactly what it predicted, sir? They are moving into a standard envelopment pattern. They think they can surround us and destroy us with concentrated fire. Genesis. Implement Countermeasure Protocol 7, acknowledged Captain. Beginning adaptive defense sequence. The Defiance began to move, but not in any pattern that Velcan tactical computers could understand. Instead of trying to escape the envelopment, the human ship moved deeper into the trap. The Velcans thought they were winning. They were wrong. Sir, the Velcans are charging weapons, Beth reported. All ships are targeting us. Let them, Tony said calmly. Genesis. Time 2. Weapons range. 30 seconds to optimal engagement distance, Captain. On the Crimson Fang, Kethvas watched the human ship with growing confusion. Why are they not running? Why are they moving toward us? His tactical officer, a younger Velcan named Sektar, checked his displays twice before responding. Do not understand their strategy. Appear to be positioning themselves in the worst possible location. Perhaps humans are even more stupid than we thought, Kethvas laughed. All ships, prepare to fire. We'll end this quickly. 10 seconds to weapons range, Genesis announced on the Defiance. Tony leaned forward in his chair. Genesis, show them what human engineering can do. Space around the Defiance suddenly filled with light. But instead of the bright flashes of weapons fire, it was something else entirely. The human ship seemed to split into dozens of copies of itself, each one moving in a different direction. What is happening? Kethvas screamed at his crew. Which one is the real ship? I do not know, sir, Sektar replied, his voice shaking. Our sensors are detecting genuine life signs from all of them. They all appear to be real. The Velcan fleet opened fire, but their weapons passed harmlessly through most of the human ships. Only one ship was real, but the Velcans had no way to tell which one. Holographic projection combined with sensor spoofing, Susan explained to Tony. Genesis is feeding false data directly into their targeting computers. They are shooting at ghosts. The real Defiance moved through the Velcan formation like a shark among minnows. Its weapon systems came online, but these were not the plasma cannons or missile launchers that the galaxy was familiar with. These were something new. Genesis, target the Crimson Fang's shield generators. Targeting complete, Captain. Firing. A beam of pure energy lanced out from the Defiance. It struck the Crimson Fang's shields and seemed to disappear. For a moment, nothing happened. Then the massive battlecruiser's shields simply stopped working. Impossible, Kethvas whispered. Our shields are impenetrable. Nothing can penetrate. Velcan military shields. Sir Sekdar said in a terrified voice, the energy beam did not penetrate our shields. It reprogrammed them. Our own shield generators are now working against us. On the Defiance, Tony nodded with satisfaction. Adaptive plasma technology. The beam analyzes the target's defensive systems and converts them into weapons. It's very effective. Against species that have not updated their technology in 50 years, the Crimson Fang was now defenseless, but Tony was not finished. The other Velcan ships were trying to retreat, but Genesis had already calculated their escape routes. Ships attempting to flee, Genesis reported. Shall I intercept? Do it? The Defiance moved with impossible speed, appearing in front of each fleeing Velcan ship before they could jump to hyperspace. One by one, their weapon systems failed as the human ship's adaptive technology turned their own defenses against them. This is impossible, Kethva said, watching his fleet being systematically disabled by a single human ship. How are you doing this? Tony's voice came through the communication system, calm and controlled. Warlord, for 50 years your people have fought against species that use the same technology, same tactics, the same strategies. You learned to counter those approaches and stopped learning anything new. Another Velcan ship went dark as its systems failed. Humans are different. We do not fight the same way twice. We learn from every engagement. We adapt to every defense. We turn your strengths into weaknesses. You are using some kind of trick, Kethva's accused. This is not real combat. This is deception. This is evolution, Tony replied. While you were busy being proud of your past victories, we were busy preparing for future wars. The galaxy forgot that humans are survivors. We have been fighting each other for thousands of years. We know how to kill. The last Velcan ship went dark. 12. Warships disabled by a single human vessel in less than 20 minutes. It was the most one-sided battle in galactic history. Now, Warlord Tony said, let us discuss your surrender. You have two choices. You can submit to judgment for your war crimes, or you can resist and discover what happens when humans stop. Being polite, Kethvas looked around his bridge at crew members who were staring at their useless control panels. His mighty fleet was helpless, drifting in space like debris. What do you want? He asked, his voice no longer filled with arrogance. Justice, Tony replied, for 47,000 innocent people who died because you thought humans were weak. You were wrong, Warlord. We are not weak. We're just very, very patient. The battle was over, but its effects would ripple across the galaxy for generations. Every species that had dismissed humans as helpless victims would now have to reconsider their assumptions. Every alien commander who had thought human ships were easy targets would now think twice. The age of human weakness was truly over. The age of human equality had begun with the sound of Velcan ships surrendering to a single human vessel. On the bridge of the Defiance, Tony Martinez looked at the tactical display showing 12 disabled enemy ships and smiled.
The galaxy was
about to learn a very important lesson about the difference between being peaceful and being harmless. Humans had been peaceful for 30 years. They had never been harmless. President Matt Johnson stood on the observation deck of the rebuilt New Geneva colony and watched the sunrise paint the sky in shades of gold and red. 6 months had passed since the massacre, and the world below him looked nothing like the burned wasteland that Captain Morrison had found. New buildings rose from the ashes, taller and stronger than before. Children played in parks that had been rebuilt with defensive shields hidden beneath the grass. Families walked streets that were now protected by weapon systems the galaxy had never imagined. New Geneva was no longer just a human colony. It was a symbol of what humanity had become. Behind him, his aide, Jennifer Collins, approached with the morning reports. She had been with him for 3 years, and she had never seen him look so calm. For most of his presidency, Matt had dealt with crisis after crisis as human colonies were raided and human ships were attacked. Today, those reports told a very different story. "Mr. President, the overnight reports from the outer colonies," Jennifer said, handing him a tablet. "All sectors report normal operations. There's no attacks, no raids, no incidents." Matt smiled as he read through the reports. 6 months without a single attack on a human target. When was the last time we could say that? Never, sir. Not since humans first left Earth. The president looked back at the colony below. In the distance, he could see the memorial wall, where the names of the 47,000 victims were carved in black stone. Their sacrifice had changed everything. Their deaths had finally taught humanity that survival required strength, not sympathy. "Jennifer, what is the status of the Galactic Council's response to our diplomatic proposal?" "They are still debating, sir. But the preliminary reports suggest they will accept our terms. The Trade Federation has already agreed to treat human merchant ships as equals. Us. The hegemony is offering formal recognition of our territorial claims." Matt nodded. It had taken 6 months, but the galaxy was finally ready to treat humans as partners instead of charity cases. The change had not come through negotiation or compromise. It had come through strength. Admiral Lisa Kane entered the observation deck, her uniform bearing new decorations that reflected humanity's changed status. She had overseen the transformation of Earth's military from a defensive force into something that commanded respect across the galaxy. "Mr. President," she said, saluting crisply, "I have the final reports from the Phoenix Fleet operations." "Go ahead, Admiral." "All human colonies are now fully protected by integrated defense systems. The Genesis AI network is operational across 47 worlds and 132 ships. Our response time to any threat has been reduced to less than 6 hours anywhere in human space." Matt turned to face her. "And the other species? They're adapting to the new reality, sir." "The Velcan Empire has formally apologized for the New Geneva massacre and paid full reparations to the families of the victims. 3 other species have requested non-aggression pacts with the Terran Federation. The raiders that used to target our shipping lanes have found other victims." The president walked to the railing and looked down at the bustling colony below. Human families were returning to the outer worlds, no longer afraid that their homes would be burned while the galaxy watched and offered sympathy. Human merchants were trading as equals with alien species that had once treated them as inferiors. Human diplomats were negotiating from positions of strength instead of begging for protection. "Admiral, do you think we did the right thing?" Lisa joined him at the railing. "Sir, 47,000 people died here because we trusted others to protect us. Today, human children are playing safely in colonies across the galaxy because we learned to protect ourselves." "I think the dead would approve." Dr. Kevin Wright arrived, carrying a folder of research reports. His Genesis project had become the backbone of human military power, but he still looked like the quiet scientist he had always been. "Mr. President, the latest data from the Genesis network," he said, opening the folder. "The system has analyzed every major military force in the galaxy. We now have complete tactical profiles on 312 species. If anyone attacks us again, we will know exactly how to defeat them. And they know this?" Matt asked. "They know enough, sir. Word travels fast in the galaxy. Every species has heard about what happened to the Velcan fleet. They understand that attacking humans is no longer a safe option." Matt looked at the reports Kevin had brought. Detailed analyses of alien weapons, tactics, and strategies. Information that could be used to defend human worlds or, if necessary, to strike back at anyone who threatened them. "Doctor, are we becoming the thing we once feared? Are we becoming the bullies?" Kevin considered the question carefully. Mr. President, we have not conquered any worlds. We have not enslaved any species. We have not attacked anyone who did not attack us first. We have simply stopped being victims. There's a difference between being strong and being cruel. The observation deck fell quiet as the three leaders of humanity contemplated what they had accomplished. In 6 months, they had transformed their species from the galaxy's protected children into equals who commanded respect. It had been necessary, but it had also been costly. Ambassador Carol Stevens joined them. Having just returned from another round of negotiations with the Galactic Council, her diplomatic work had become much easier once humanity had proven its strength. Mr. President, she said, the Council has reached a decision. They are formally recognizing the Terran Federation as a major galactic power. We will have permanent seats on all important committees. Our vote will carry the same weight as the hegemony or the Trade Federation. And the price for this recognition? Matt asked. We agree to use our military power responsibly. We promise not to attack civilian targets. Commit to working within the galactic legal system when possible. Matt laughed softly. They want us to promise not to do the things they have been doing to us for 30 years. Yes, sir. The irony was not lost on me either. The president turned back to watch the colony below. In the medical district, he could see human doctors working alongside alien physicians who had come to learn from advanced human medical technology. In the commercial sector, human traders were negotiating deals with species that had once refused to do business with them. When the residential areas, families from a dozen different worlds were living together peacefully. Carol, tell the Council. We accept their terms and make sure they understand our conditions. Yes, sir. Any attack on human civilians will be met with immediate retaliation. Any species that threatens human colonies will discover that we have very long memories and very advanced weapons. We are willing to be peaceful neighbors, but we will not be anyone's victims ever again. Carol nodded. I will make our position clear, sir. As the sun climbed higher in the sky, Matt thought about the journey that had brought humanity to this point. They had started as refugees fleeing a dying Earth. They had become the galaxy's protected species. Grateful for whatever scraps of dignity they were offered. They had endured decades of attacks, raids, and massacres while trusting in alien protection that never came. The massacre at New Geneva had finally taught them the truth. In a galaxy where only the strong survived, being right was not enough. Being peaceful was not enough. Being civilized was not enough. Only strength commanded respect. Mr. President, Jennifer said, your speech to the colony is scheduled for this afternoon, the memorial service for the victims. I will be ready, Matt replied. He knew what he would say. He would honor the 47,000 who had died. He would thank them for the lesson their sacrifice had taught. He would promise that their deaths had not been in vain. But most importantly, he would tell the galaxy that humanity was no longer asking for pity. They were no longer begging for protection. They were no longer accepting second-class citizenship among the stars. The age of human weakness was over. The age of human equality had begun. And any species that forgot this lesson would discover that humans had very good teachers in the art of warfare. They had been teaching each other for thousands of years. As Matt Johnson prepared to address a colony that had risen from the ashes of Massacre, he carried a simple message that would echo across the galaxy. Humans were no longer anyone's victims. They were survivors, and they had finally learned to show their teeth. The memorial service would honor the dead, but it would also serve as a warning to the living. Never again would humanity bow its head and accept the galaxy's pity. From now on, they would stand as equals, or they would stand as enemies. The choice belonged to the galaxy, but the power to enforce that choice now belonged to humanity.